Well, it is the end of day 3 of group stage with coverage brought to you by Alienware. I'm joined right now by Zeyzal. Talk a little bit about their game against G2. So unfortunately, I lost for you guys. But what was really fascinating to me about that game was just how bloody it was. I think there were like 34 kills at 24 minutes. Why was it so fast paced? Is that just what happens whenever Blaber ends up on the map?
I think part of it was Blaber. Yeah, Reaper also told us before the match like he wants us to fight, like because they're going to try to make plays, and we have the choice then to try to make one back ourselves, which is what we ended up doing, or to concede. And the idea is that if you concede one thing, you just kind of never get an opportunity to fight. So we just tried to fight as much as we could.
And do you think it's just the fights that didn't go your way?
There were a lot of fights that were relatively close, like them slipping out 1 HP or just mostly early game stuff. But yeah, I would say that we mostly just ended up losing team fights, and they ended up with an advantage on Zoe, so he can just push side, and we have no answer. Got a bit awkward from that.
I think a lot of people were fascinated to see what the C9 G2 matchup would look like in this game, and over the course of groups as well. Um, what do you think of them as a team versus sort of your playstyle, C9's playstyle after that game?
I think G2's just really strong. They're all really good individually, and they understand when they take fights and how to take fights. Like, I don't think any team would have dove us at the tier 2 top. We had a disconnect with Aatrox, and he had no TP, but they legit just insta-dove us for 4 versus 5, which is, I mean, logically you can say, like, that's what you do, but to pull the trigger is really, really hard, I guess, in that context, and they ended up doing it with no hesitation and just instantly won the game off that play.
I interviewed Yankos yesterday, and he said that he was looking forward to face Cloud9 because he's like at Rift Rivals. You know, they played a game with Blaber, they played a game without Sneaky, and I'm just happy to play their like normal 5-person lineup. And then right before you guys go on, I see Blaber will be playing in today's game. So, what inspired the decision to put Blaber in?
There wasn't really one individual decision, I'd say. Blabber's been sharing scrim time 50-50 since maybe week 5 of LCS, and honestly, when I play, I don't feel any different. I know we will win the same amount of games. Like, I'm pretty sure if you look, our win rate's legit the same with Blabber as it is in Svenskar and in scrims. I know people criticized him a lot for, like, I think we lost against 100 Thieves with him, and like pretty much every game we played LCS was a loss, but not his fault at all. I would say it's mostly just that we decided we wanted to put him in, and if it wasn't for this game, then it'd just be any other game.
So it wasn't strategic. It's not like, okay, G2 is the team that we want to throw Blaber in. It's just like this is something we want to do at Worlds.
We wanted to put him in versus a good team, like one that would for sure be very hard to beat, just because he deserves an opportunity to play against the best.
So less of a strategic decision then, because I think a lot of people would be like, okay, maybe Reaper is like Blabber's going to counter them in this way, or he's got this play style or whatever. But this is more just like getting him stage time.
Yep, I would say so.
All right. What do you think? Do you have any ideas on like how you'd like to see things go differently against G2 when you play them again next week? Obviously, simple answers. You'd like to win, but I mean, strategically, like, what would you like to see different?
I think something good would be being able to fight earlier levels 2v2 bottom, because they just punish so hard if you can't fight them early. Like, they slow built waves and chunked us because Cassio level 1 just has Q and no real damage. So they actually played really well around just and putting us in a really bad spot early game because of that 2v2. So I'd like something stronger and more able to fight like level 1 and 2. And then I think making sure we're able to play side lane more mid game, especially if they have a champion like Zoe, because once Zoe ends up grouped mid, it's just so hard for us to hold our turrets against Zoe, Xayah, Rakan.
Do you enjoy this Worlds meta right now that we're seeing again, like another resurgence of strange picks in the bot lane or unconventional ones?
I enjoy it. It's hard to keep up. Like, I don't think we'd actually played Cassio versus Xayah Rakan recently, mostly because a lot of the teams we scrim don't have high priority on Xayah Rakan, whereas G2 obviously showed they do have priority, or at least did in this case.
What do you think? Have you had a chance to look at TL or Clutch at all, any of their games?
I've watched all games, yeah.
What do you think of their chances of getting out of groups? Obviously you know these teams really well, so I like asking people from one region what they think of the other teams competing from that region.
I think Clutch's chance is quite low. I don't think it's necessarily their fault. I think it's partly just because of how strong their group is. I think put any other NA team there, it's going to be the same thing. And TL, if they hadn't barely scraped that win today, I would say that they didn't have a good chance, but I think they'll make it out. I think that TL is actually doing a lot better than I expected. Like they play really well on stage, which is no surprise. They have Jensen and Doublelift both. I mean, I guess Doublelift's a bit of a meme at Worlds, but I think they both played really well. And they ended up, Doublelift played so well today to get the win, and they ended up winning this match, which I think will secure them out of groups.
Okay, so it was around this time last year that things were looking a little bleak, and then you told me the story about how you scrimmed against Vitality, borrowed their strategy, and they're a big, we're going to fight all the time. So I'm just thinking maybe you should do that again. And I think that would be great, because you guys are in this scary group, and you need some way to just bump out of it. So this is my suggestion to you.
The story was we beat Vitality, or actually Vitality beat, I think, Genji on stage, or RNG that day, and that's when we copied it. But
I thought you were scrimming
no,
Vitality.
we didn't scrim them at the time.
I have this.
We were in the group with them, so we couldn't scrim them.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
That would be some old strategy.
That's right. Okay, sorry. I remember now. Look, I got it almost right, because it was like you playing against them. You just were like, we'll just do what they do.
The problem is we were getting shit on in scrims then too, so it's like there was nothing to lose. But right now it feels like in scrims we have a solid foundation. We don't actually lose that much. We obviously lose versus the best teams, but it's not nearly as one-sided as it was last year. So it feels a lot harder to just all right, guys, let's scrap everything, change how we play, just because Vitality gets some wins, or, I don't know, J-Team beats Fun Plus. You can't just scrap it all. Or it feels much harder in this position.
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask about that, because when I interviewed Doublelift, he was saying normally NA sucks at Worlds in scrims, but this year he says NA supposedly is doing much better in scrims. Is that a bad thing for us in the long term, right? Because you can't almost I know you were kind of making jokes about this, but is it harder to learn whenever the scrims are more even?
I think the problem, this isn't a problem. I think NA players have gotten better individually upon realizing just how good a lot of the EU, LPL, and LCK players were. So then now we're actually good enough to get wins in scrims, but then they're still seemingly better on stage, or seemingly know something we don't on stage, despite us still being able to perform in scrims.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is, and God forbid, hopefully we all make it out, but if things don't go our way in 2019, 2020 might be the year, because we figured it out in scrims. Next year is when we translate it to stage.
That's the hope, always, that you translate scrims. I mean, depending on the team, that you translate scrims to stage, yeah.
All right. Well, either way, I do want to thank you for doing the interview, even though, unfortunately, loss on stage, because I really appreciate whenever people do that. Teams don't always do that. But is there anything you want to say to any of the Cloud9 fans?
Thanks for supporting us. I hope the next coming days will be a lot better for us on stage, and we're able to get the wins we need to get out of groups.
Zeyzal, thank you so much for the interview. Looking forward to seeing what you guys bring out in the next couple days. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things esports right here on my YouTube channel. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed that interview. I enjoyed making it. It's so great to be at Worlds, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Alienware. That's right, I know you've heard their name in these outros before, but you're hearing it again because I am back here in Europe. It's been a while, and I'm really happy. I couldn't do it without them. Please go check out alienware.com/Travis. You wouldn't be watching this interview without them.